This is a story about a man named Alex, and Alex did everything society tells you to do to look successful. He leased the right car, wore the right watch, and lived in an apartment that looked like it was pulled straight from a magazine. And it almost cost him everything. His journey into the lives of the truly wealthy revealed a powerful secret. The more you try to look rich, the harder it is to actually become rich. And over the next few minutes, you'll learn the difference, the powerful, transformative difference that can change your financial life forever. Number 1, the seduction of appearance. Let's start with a paradox that defines our modern world. The fastest way to stay poor is to relentlessly try and look rich. It's a strange and uncomfortable truth. The biggest threat to your future wealth isn't a market crash or a bad economy. It's that quiet, internal pressure to signal success right now. This was Alex's world. He was a talented graphic designer with a solid income that put him comfortably in the upper middle class. But comfort wasn't the goal. Success was. And in his world, success had a uniform. It was a sleek German sedan with a 4-figure monthly lease payment. It was a heavy Swiss-made automatic watch that, he'd tell people, it was an investment. It was a downtown apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a rent that ate up nearly 40% of his take-home pay. Now, Alex wasn't being foolish. He was being rational according to the rules of the game he thought he was playing. He was fluent in the language of status. We're social creatures, hardwired for belonging. Thousands of years ago, being accepted by the tribe meant survival. Today, we just chase a modern version of that acceptance. Likes, followers, admiration, and a little bit of envy. This is what makes the performance of wealth so seductive. The right car, the right clothes, the right vacation photos, they are all signals we send that say, I am successful, I belong, I am winning. Behavioral economists call this status signaling. It's using visible, expensive things to communicate your rank. A luxury watch doesn't just tell time. Your phone does that way more accurately. The watch tells a story. It's designed to be seen, to be socially understood. The same is true for the car, the handbag, the zip code. These things are powerful because other people can easily read them as markers of success. But the things that quietly build actual wealth, they're almost always invisible. No one sees your index fund portfolio. No one compliments you on your fully funded emergency savings account. No one envies your paid-off mortgage. These are invisible assets. And in an economy based on appearances, invisible means worthless. Social media has absolutely weaponized this. It acts like an amplifier for social comparison and the fear of missing out, FOMO. You're no longer just keeping up with the Joneses next door. You're keeping up with a globally curated highlight reel of success. You see the result, but you never see the cost. You don't see the credit card debt behind the vacation photo, the anxiety behind the smile, or the crushing monthly payments that fuel the whole illusion. Research shows this constant exposure dramatically affects our spending. Studies reveal that a huge portion of consumers, especially younger ones, make impulse buys based entirely on what they see online. Your brain starts to believe the illusion is the norm, and suddenly, your perfectly good life feels totally inadequate. This was the seductive, dangerous world Alex lived in. He wasn't spending his money on things, but on messages. He was buying what he thought was proof of his value. He looked rich. He felt, from the outside, successful. But inside, a quiet, persistent anxiety was starting to build. He was running faster and faster on a financial treadmill, only to find himself standing in the exact same place. Number 2, the cracks in the facade. The first crack in Alex's carefully built reality wasn't some dramatic event. It was a slow, creeping realization that despite his rising income, he felt perpetually broke. His bank account was a battlefield where money arrived only to be immediately sent out to cover the costs of his high-status lifestyle. He was a high-earning, poor person. This is a phenomenon financial planners see every single day: lifestyle inflation. It's the biggest reason why so many high earners never build any real wealth. It's what happens when your spending rises in lockstep with your income. A pay raise doesn't go toward investing. It just gets quietly absorbed by a slightly better car, a more expensive apartment, and more frequent dinners out. Each upgrade seems reasonable on its own. What's an extra few $100 a month for a nicer place to live, right? What's the harm in upgrading to the latest phone? But those reasonable decisions stack up, creating a lifestyle that's incredibly difficult to sustain and even harder to escape. Let's put some real numbers on this. Take Alex's car lease. It was a status symbol, costing him $1,200 a month. That's $14,400 a year, just vanishing from his account for the privilege of driving a car he would never even own. Now, let's consider the invisible cost, the opportunity cost. That's the potential benefit you miss out on when you choose one thing over another. What if Alex had chosen to drive a modest, reliable used car and invested that same $1,200 every month? Assuming a conservative 8% average annual return from a simple S&P 500 index fund, that one decision would have had a staggering impact. After 10 years, the money spent leasing a car that's losing value is gone forever. But the money he'd invested would have grown to over $217,000. The car wasn't just costing him $1,200 a month, it was costing him a future $250,000. This is the hidden cost of looking rich. It's not the money you spend, it's the future freedom you trade away for a little validation today. The real turning point for Alex came during a company retreat. He found himself talking with a senior partner at his firm, a man named Mark, who was known to be exceptionally wealthy, a genuine multi-millionaire. Alex had always pictured titans of industry in sprawling mansions driving exotic cars. But Mark was different. He drove a 10-year-old Volvo. He wore a simple, functional watch. He talked about his weekends spent gardening and coaching his kids' soccer team. The contrast was jarring. Here was a man with undeniable wealth who seemed completely uninterested in performing it. Meanwhile, Alex, who was spending every dollar he had to project success, just felt a deep sense of insecurity. He looked richer than the rich guy. This contradiction became an obsession. It was the loose thread that, when pulled, unraveled his entire belief system about money. If Mark, who could afford any car in the world, chose to drive a Volvo, what did that mean? If true wealth didn't need to shout, why was Alex screaming at the top of his lungs? This question launched him on a journey to understand the powerful, invisible difference between looking rich and being rich. Number 3, the investigation, uncovering quiet wealth. Alex's investigation started with a book that has become a classic for understanding wealth, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. He expected stories of Wall Street geniuses and tech prodigies. What he found was far more surprising. The book, based on 20 years of research, showed that most of America's millionaires don't live in Beverly Hills or drive Ferraris. They're often small business owners running dull, normal businesses like welding or pest control, or diligent professionals like teachers and engineers. They live in middle-class neighborhoods, buy used cars, and their main goal isn't social status. It's financial independence. They are, just as the title says, the millionaire living right next door, completely undetected. Stanley and Danko found a few things these prodigious accumulators of wealth all had in common. First, they live well below their means. This isn't about being cheap. It's a strategic choice. They know that every dollar not spent on something that loses value is a dollar that can be invested in something that gains value. While society tells you to reward yourself with consumption, they reward themselves with freedom. Second, they put their time, energy, and money where it matters for building wealth. They spend more hours a month planning their finances than their high-consuming, low-wealth peers. They essentially run their household like a business, with budgets and goals. And third, they believe financial independence is more important than showing off a high social status. This was the key that unlocked the puzzle of Mark and his Volvo. The truly wealthy often get a principle that the aspirational class misses. Advertising your wealth is a liability. It invites unwanted attention, creates social pressure, and attracts people who are interested in what you have, not who you are. This led Alex to a modern trend built on this exact idea: quiet luxury, or stealth wealth. It's a philosophy that values quality and craftsmanship over logos and flash. Think of a beautifully tailored, unbranded cashmere coat versus a sweatshirt plastered with logos. One is a quiet signal to a small, discerning group. The other is a loud shout to the masses. Stealth wealth is choosing to let your wealth serve your life, not define your identity. It's the ultimate luxury of ignoring outside opinions because your validation comes from a place of security, not performance. You hear this from self-made entrepreneurs and billionaires all the time. They don't talk about their cars or watches. They talk about control. Control over their time, control over their decisions. They see flashy spending not as a reward, but as a distraction. Real power hates waste. The person chasing the image of wealth is buying proof. He needs the world to see his car to believe he's successful. The person building actual wealth is buying position. She's buying assets, stocks, real estate, ownership that give her more options, more leverage, and more freedom tomorrow. One is a performance, which is fleeting and expensive. The other is a structure, which is durable and profitable. Alex was finally seeing the truth. He had been playing the wrong game all along. He was trying to win the battle of appearances, while the truly wealthy were playing a different game entirely, the game of ownership. This is the pivot. It's the shift from focusing on your income statement, what you earn and spend, to focusing on your balance sheet, what you own. If this idea is starting to click for you, do me a favor and hit the like button. It tells the algorithm that this is a conversation worth having and helps more people find it. Now let's turn this new understanding into action. Number 4, the new definition of rich. Alex's investigation gave him a new map. Now he just had to change direction. The journey started with a simple but powerful redefinition of 2 words, assets and liabilities. The accounting definitions are complex, but a powerful simplification comes from author Robert Kiyosaki. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Through this new lens, Alex's life looked completely different. His high-end apartment, a massive liability. His leased German sedan, a pure liability. His expensive watch, which he told himself was an investment, it was a liability, costing him the opportunity for that money to be growing somewhere else. His life was filled with things that looked like assets to the world, but were actually liabilities on his personal balance sheet. The solution, then, wasn't to earn more money. He was already earning enough. The solution was to systematically convert his liabilities into assets. This is the practical, unglamorous work of building wealth. It's often boring. It's a game of consistency, not intensity. Alex started small. He didn't break his car lease, but when it ended, he made a decision that would have been unthinkable to his old self. He bought a 3-year-old low-mileage Japanese sedan, one of the most reliable cars on the market. He paid for it in full with savings, eliminating his car payment overnight. That one move freed up $1,200 a month. Next, his apartment. He loved the view, but that view was costing him a fortune. He moved to a perfectly nice, slightly smaller apartment in a less trendy neighborhood, saving another $1,300 a month. In total, just from those 2 changes, he had an extra $2,500 flowing into his bank account every month. This was the raw material for his new life. For the first year, he did nothing exciting with it. He built a 6-month emergency fund, a cash cushion to protect him from life's curveballs. This wasn't just a financial move. It was a psychological one. For the first time in his adult life, he felt a security that no luxury good had ever given him. He was no longer one emergency away from disaster. Once that safety net was full, he turned his attention to building his asset column. He set up an automatic transfer. Every single month, that $2,500 went directly into a low-cost, diversified index fund. He wasn't picking stocks or trying to time the market. He was simply, patiently, and consistently buying a tiny piece of the global economy. Let's look at the math of his transformation. That $2,500 a month is $30,000 a year. Over 10 years, he would contribute $300,000. But because his money was now working for him, the result would be far greater. Again, assuming a historical market average of 8% a year, compounded over a decade, his investment would grow to over $450,000. This is how wealth is built. Not through a lottery ticket or one brilliant move, but through thousands of disciplined, unglamorous decisions, repeated over and over. It's the decision to cook at home. The decision to repair something instead of replacing it. It's the decision to value freedom tomorrow over validation today. From the outside, Alex's life began to look less impressive. He drove a normal car and lived in a normal apartment, but his internal life was revolutionized. The constant low-grade anxiety about money was gone, replaced by a quiet confidence. He was no longer owned by his things. He was on the path to owning his future. He was discovering that the ultimate luxury isn't a watch or a car. The ultimate luxury is freedom. The freedom to walk away from a job you hate. The freedom to take a year off. The freedom to work on projects you love, not just the ones that pay the bills. The freedom to live life on your own terms. That is the new definition of rich. We live in a world that relentlessly rewards the appearance of wealth. But as Alex discovered, the performance of success is a trap. It's an expensive, exhausting, and ultimately unfulfilling game. The real path to financial strength is to simply reject that game. It's found in the quiet, disciplined practice of valuing ownership over appearance and substance over signal. Real wealth is rarely loud. It's measured not by what you spend, but by what you accumulate. It's the financial security nobody sees and the freedom nobody can take away from you. The choice is yours. You can spend your life trying to look rich, or you can commit to the patient process of actually becoming rich. Because in the end, the people who look rich are often just spending wealth. The people who become rich are the ones busy protecting it. What's the most common purchase you see people make just to look rich? Share your thoughts in the comments below. It's a conversation worth having. And if you're ready to choose ownership over appearance, subscribe for more ways to help you build real, lasting wealth.